Shoot the Bridge topic number 2 says, where is BLAGA on the white tether issue? Where is BLAGA on the white tether issue? This takes us to YouTube. Let me make sure you guys can see what I see. Yes, this takes us to YouTube. We will watch and then we will discuss.
Yeah, we back. Now, today we're going to be talking about Donald Trump rolling out the red carpet for the European immigrants, right? Now, it reminds me, a while ago, I made a video discussing how when it comes to conservatism, different groups of men practice a different form of conservatism, right? The conservatism practiced by men in the Middle East is different than the conservatism practiced by the black men in Africa, which is also different from the conservatism practiced by the white men in the Western world and in Europe and the United States, which is different from the conservatism practiced by Asian men, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Every demographic of men have their own version of conservatism, right? So when you examine, conservatism in the context of the United States and the Western world, you have to understand that's a specific brand of conservatism you are dealing with, right? That's why as a black man, in order to fit into that box of conservatism, the Western version of conservatism, you have to kind of be a foot soldier for the white man. You got to be a sidekick for the white man, because that's what that brand of conservatism is all about, right? It's about putting the interests and the objectives of white men first. Now, you gotta look up on the screen. President Trump has signed sanctions against South Africa for their recent land seizure bill. He is ordering all aid to South Africa to be halted, and he is also ordering federal agencies to prioritize humanitarian relief and admission to the United States for the Afrikaner refugees. Now, the Afrikaner refugees, that's the white South Africans, right? They got to come to the United States to fortify the numbers of the white population. Now, the reason why he signed these sanctions because of this land seizure bill. Apparently, the president of South Africa recently introduced this bill or this law, I don't know, which is basically, taking back the land from the colonists, right? So Donald Trump and his man Elon Musk, they wasn't too happy about that, so they sanctioned them boys down in South Africa. Now, let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. Trump orders the United States to prioritize refugee resettlement of South Africans of European descent. Let's get into it. Trump on Friday directed government officials to prioritize the resettlement of South Africans of European descent to the United States refugee program, which he suspended during his first day in office. So this man done closed the program his first day in office, but he reopened it for the white man in South Africa, right? He reopened it for the European immigrants, the European refugees, right? Let's continue. In an executive order, Trump accused the South African government of discriminating against the Afrikaners, an ethnic group in South Africa made up of descendants of European colonists. Like I said in my video the other day, Donald Trump and Elon Musk using the Paul Kagame pretext, the Paul Kagame strategy to destabilize the South African government. The same way Paul Kagame justifies launching attack after attack after attack against the Eastern Congo for the last 20 years under the pretext of, I gotta protect the persecuted minorities in the region. I gotta protect the interests of my minority ethnic group. That's why I've been sending my military into the Eastern Congo for 20 years, right? Listen, once you justify the bullshit for one person, don't be surprised when the next charlatan comes along using the same pretext. Let's continue. Trump said in the order, the United States would no longer support South Africa with foreign aid if such policies, which he claims highlight a shocking disregard for its citizens and amount to human rights violations, continue ordering U.S. agencies to stop providing any aid to South Africa unless deemed necessary. In his order, Trump instructed Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to prioritize humanitarian relief and admission and resettlement to the United States Refugee Admissions Program for the Afrikaners in South Africa who are victims of unjust racial discrimination. Now, let's take a look at some of the reactions on social media. This person said they wanted a coup and got asylum instead. That's funny as hell. Yeah, see, they wanted Elon Musk and Donald Trump to give them what Paul Kagame was giving his folks down in the Congo, right? They wanted to send, armed insurgents to destabilize the government, overthrow the government, right? But they just gave them sanctions instead. Now let's continue. This person said, the Trump administration moving to resettle whites from South Africa to the United States is further confirmation about everything Pan-Africanists have been saying about unity. They have us fighting each other while they look out for and support each other against our interests. Now, isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how fast mass deportation, the rhetoric surrounding mass deportation ended up becoming about providing asylum for European refugees, right? Listen, I told you that's what it was about. All that nonsense about secure the border and mass deportation, all that shit was a smokescreen. All that nonsense was a smokescreen for their true intentions and their true desires and their true interests. And the fact of the matter is, in the Western world, there's a population problem. There's a population issue because they're not having enough babies to meet the replacement rate, which means the population will decrease if they don't take certain measures, boosting their numbers and fortifying their numbers through immigration, but a certain type of immigration, a certain kind of immigration, right? And this issue is not exclusive to the United States. It's a conversation happening across the Western world. That's why a lot of nations are moving towards conservatism, and they're all saying the same thing. They're all speaking from the same sentiment, right? Secure the border, protect the border, right? Because this population problem is happening not only in the United States, but also Great Britain, also France, Italy. Various Western nations are trying to fortify their white population. Now, what Trump is doing is nothing new. The United States has always held this policy of the main preference when it comes to immigration is the European immigrants first and foremost. Those are the ones that get the red carpet treatment. Those are the ones that have always gotten the red carpet treatment. Millions and millions and millions of white immigrants have flooded the nation since the formation of the nation. In fact, Donald Trump himself is a descendant of white immigrants. Elon Musk, white immigrant. Donald Trump's entire administration full of white immigrants. And a lot of them are recent white immigrants. Like some of them are white immigrant anchor babies. So, when they talk about immigration, don't fall for the smokescreen because they're not talking about white immigrants, right? They're not talking about that. And notice how when it comes to the European immigrants, you never hear any talk about the type of criminality these immigrants might bring to the country, right? The crime is going to rise once you bring these immigrants to the country. There was a crazy story in the news just a few months ago. I did a video on it, but some white South African farmers had killed 2 black women and fed their body to pigs, right? But these are the people that's getting the red carpet treatment to come to the United States because it's never been about criminality. It's never been about securing the border. It's always been about maintaining and fortifying the economic, political, and demographic majority and dominance of the white population, which is fine. I don't got a problem with that because I understand what Western conservatism is all about. That's why I don't subscribe to it, because I understand that it's about maintaining the dominance, the economic and political dominance of the white majority. So I'm not going to be a sidekick or a backup dancer for the white man. Like I said, different groups of men practice different brands of conservatism. This is Western conservatism. When they say America first, they really mean white man first. When they say secure the borders, they really mean open the back door for our white brothers, which is fine, I understand, but I'm just pointing out the contradiction in their rhetoric. Now, let's continue. This person said, we Afrikaners are a proud, hardworking tribe with strong Christian values. I speak for myself and thousands of my tribe. I want to say a massive thank you to President Trump and his administration for recognizing the problems we are facing in South Africa. These racist and unfair laws that have been forced upon us for years now, affecting not only the Afrikaners, but all white South Africans. Our forefathers tamed this South African land. They have bled and died on this land to secure a future for us. Majority of us cannot pack up and flee. This is our home. This is our land. We will fight for equal opportunities for all. It is our right to own property. This person said, many Afrikaners love socialism when the government built Afrikaner schools, created cheap electricity, prioritized Afrikaner workers, subsidized Afrikaner farmers, invested in Afrikaner businesses, etc., etc. But when it's time for black people to be prioritized in order to create equality and not superiority, now they hate it. Now they call it racism and demand free market capitalism. That's bullshit. Ha! That's the game, brother. That is the game, right? The enemy speaks out both sides of his mouth. And it's up to you as a black man to not fall victim to the deception and the manipulation and the contradictions. But yeah, man, this is going to be the new tactic in order to meddle in the affairs of other nations, right? They tried doing that with the nations in the Sahel too. They tried to say, oh, they're persecuting the Fulanis. The Fulanis are being persecuted in Burkina Faso. That's going to be the new pretext nowadays, right? That's going to be the new weapons of mass destruction, right? Oh, we got to protect the minorities under persecution. Man, listen, man, everybody can see through these games, man. But yeah, if you were supporting Donald Trump because you really believe that he was going to secure the borders and put America first, I mean, yeah, he is going to secure the borders and put America first, but you should have read the fine print on the contract, at the bottom in the small letters. Yeah, but the white immigrants, they're going to be flooding the nation. And Joe Biden did the same exact thing too, right? Joe Biden, when Russia invaded Ukraine, Joe Biden opened the doors for hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian refugees, flooded the zone with white immigrants. But notice, nobody said a word about the Ukrainian immigrants. Nobody says a word about the Russian immigrants. Nobody says a word about the various German, Irish, Scottish immigrants, British immigrants that come to the United States in large numbers and go unnoticed. Even the so-called patriotic blacks that want to secure the borders, they never talk about the white immigrants, right? They about to flood the zone with white immigrants. Them boys ain't gonna say a goddamn thing. Because like I said, when it comes to the Western brand of conservatism, you got got to be a sidekick for the white man. So whatever the white man do, you got to go along with it. Whatever the white man want to do, you got to just, hop in the back seat and take the ride, right? You got to shut your mouth and be quiet as a black man. See, I can't get down with that brand of conservatism, not me. Anyways, man, it's whenever Bakari, that's Salim back in the building. Yes, indeed. Cash app in the description. Support the channel, man. Support the album. Peace.
Told me she loved me and said that it's real. So independent, ain't signing no deal. Feel like a king and I'm up Cap Henry. I'm in the city.
Yes, indeed. Nafakari Desaleem's. Our brother Black Steel is in the chat, so you won't be able to make it on with us tonight. I appreciate you letting us know, though. Appreciate that very much, actually. With that said, there was a couple of comments that were carried over from the previous conversation I want to get to first. Provide Triggers for Evolution says, I think South Africa being in the crosshairs of Trump, a related matter to discuss is there a coup taking place in the U.S.? Is Musk engaging in some form of techno-feudalism? That's an interesting question. That's a prompt-worthy question. She meant, a coup d'etat. Cheryl says, in reality, Trump is doing for Europeans globally what black nations should be doing for the diaspora. Can't argue that. Provide Trigger says South Africa is also being targeted because it took Israel to the ICJ, that's the International Court, as well as its alliance with BRICS. South Africa had been in the crosshairs of Kagame too, for real. Cheryl says black people are really mad that white people are putting their own people first. That's what happens when you live in a delusion of integration for 60 plus years. Provide Trigger says defending Western civilization is the language being used by the European right. I appreciate those comments from everyone. I figured I'd read those before we start this particular conversation now. I guess I should introduce our latest panelist. I'll be Ditso. Ditso, how are you this week?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Goku, Bawana. How's everything going? I hope well.
Yes, sir. Everything's good, man. Thanks for coming through.
Yeah, ¿qué tal, mi hermano? Yes, yes.
Eso. I just wanted to come in because I heard the first one that you guys were talking about that then led to this, and I just wanted to give a very precise point. What is happening right now, this almost 180-degree switch from what was the Biden foreign policy and now back again to Trump foreign policy in that sense, it has become more aggressive because if you look at what J.D. Vance did at Munich yesterday and what Marco Rubio was doing today in Munich, especially with the reception on that sense, what tells us is that United States is utterly and completely confused. It does not. Its north is to protect the imperialism they see fit, but go against the imperialism they don't see fit. I don't know if that makes sense. What's happening right now is a complete and utter bipolar condition of the United States. It has no fucking clue where it's standing. It is in between wanting to be isolated from the world, but at the same time it cannot get rid of the notion and the pride of being number one in the world. So that bipolar condition is conflicting into itself. And that conflict is going to generate a slow but steady condition where the United States is no longer an hegemony. Of course, we have to wait and see what's going to happen at the end of Trump's presidency if if there's going to be a transformation to a monoparty control of the Republican type and a destruction of the Democrats, or if the Democrats are going to be able to get someone else elected, or if we're going to see the birth of a third party in the United States and win elections in that sense. Right now, everything's up in the air in that aspect. But what's happening with South Africa and this whole idiocy that generates from that executive order clearly shows to us that MAGA doesn't want to make America great again. All they want to do is have this bipolar condition systematically grow. They don't know where the fuck they're standing. I don't know if I made sense. I just wanted to give that point of analysis.
No, good stuff. Yeah, no, I follow and I appreciate those thoughts that you put forward. Buana, you go ahead. I'll be right back in a second. So Buana, just hold on for me. Go ahead.
Yeah, no sweat. One of these days, so me and you have to talk to vet a lot of these things. But we have to remember the audience. So wherever your audience, our audience is younger. But one of these days, we have to really vet a lot of the things and have a back and forth. Because I think that the politics that you get into sometimes is never mind. Don't worry about it. But I would say this. I think that it just goes back to what we was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And I have not heard BLAGA. BLAGA is Black MAGA really discuss this whole white tether issue and how Donald Trump is soliciting support from his European brothers in South Africa. It's been very interesting. And there's been just quiet on the BLAGA front in them responding to the fact that Donald Trump says he wants no immigration. He said America borders is full, but yet he makes this clear exclusion for his European people to come into the country. But if you look at it, Donald Trump, most of his wives are immigrants. Donald Trump himself is a German immigrant.
Mhm.
Yeah, when we see this whole idea of immigration, it's completely a non-European issue because they don't say the crimes that the Canadians bring into America, or the British person brings into America, or the German person brings into America. They only look at the issue of criminal activity in terms of immigration coming from non-European people. So
Or the
it's
U.S.
extremely
citizen brings.
racist.
Look at the case. I'm going to give an example. Just last year, a case in Medellin, Colombia, where a U.S. citizen from Utah was caught, PDF file, uh, on a PDF file condition, and he then escaped Colombia and returned back to the States. And the last thing I know is that there's the attempted coordination between the authorities of Colombia and the authorities of United States, both federally and locally, have not produced the fact of catching the guy. And Colombia is asking for extradition. They want to judge him in their courts, and they have a
Oh,
right to ask that, but
oh,
they won't.
yes, I want to address that, Ditsu. That's a very important narrative. It's interesting that Americans who commit crimes in other countries, they have extradition laws where you could send the Americans back to the Americas, and if they have committed no crime in the Americas, they set free. But imagine, if you will, a American person who commits a crime in a place like Colombia, Bogota, or Costa Rica, or Brazil, and then you request these people to come back to serve time in these respective countries. Do you think extradition laws will permit American citizens to go to Brazil or Colombia to serve sentences? Of course not. Of course not. It's so unfair. So I'm saying, if you want to play this little game, it should be across the board. Just as Donald Trump says that we want to be able to have the laws or have these things enforced across the board, other countries should do the same thing as well. Should do the same thing as well. So,
No, it's
and
like
if
the
you if you're not going to send criminals who have committed crimes in Brazil to serve American criminals who did crimes in Brazil back to Brazil to serve their sentences, we shouldn't send our citizens to your country to serve sentences in the United States as well. It should be across the board. That's so.
No, yeah, and I mean, look, Russia. I don't trust Russia. I don't like Putin, but Russia just announced that another U.S. citizen was detained, trafficking drugs in Russia, supposedly or allegedly. The news only says that it was a 28-year-old U.S. citizen by the name of K. Byers. That's the only thing we've been able to find, but that has been officially released by Russian uh, government. So here's the thing: the argument that illegals, quote unquote, the term illegals, I hate it, but those irregular migrants that arrive to the United States are the ones committing crime is completely and utterly BS in the sense that, sure, you may have a minority that have engaged in criminal activity, but the major aspect of criminality that is happening within the United States is by U.S. citizens. So those migrants who may have committed, sure, you know, let them face the due process and the courts as any human has the right to do so and has the entitlement to face a due process. But then the question comes into U.S. citizens who migrate outside. Some also do crimes outside in other areas. And then they run back to the United States and there's no extradition. That's BS. And so,
Absolutely. There are many, like how there's something called sexual tourism. You know, sexual tourism. That's so. You have these old, middle-aged white men who go to so-called third world countries and they mess with young children, young underage women. If this is this tragic arrangement, and as you say, if the officials was to catch up with some of these people, they flee and they go back to their countries. Shouldn't a pedophile who've committed acts in the Philippines or Brazil serve time for messing with children? It's not because you have a U.S. passport that absolves you of that crime. You should, if you committed that act in the Philippines or Brazil, you should serve that sentence in the Philippines and Brazil. Your citizens. These things are never talked about in so-called CNN and Fox News. It's only people in third world countries who commit crimes, especially non-European people. You know, Europeans don't commit crimes all over the world, of course. It's only the it's ridiculous that so.
look, another interesting point on this line of conversation is United States demands visa of out of the 195 countries, at least half of those countries, and that half is normally what you would call AK Global South, AK third world countries, all those countries that they deemed inferior. For example, me, I have to pay $250 every time I need to ask for a visa, and there's no guarantee that they will give me the visa in order to have it in my passport and travel to the United States. Um, that is not reciprocal to the United States passport. The conversations now with Trump, the idea of start imposing visas to U.S. travelers, it's not as strong as it should be, but it's starting to, sound and ring around there. If you impact the United States passport in that way, where you then reduce the capability of U.S. citizens exiting, and at the same time you you bring down a few notches that condition of the U.S. passport, then that's another means of of creating those conditions. Right now,
Yeah, it absolutely is, because what you are doing is one of the fundamental things in terms of the U.S. Constitution. I don't know if it's like one of the amendments is freedom of movement. You should have the ability to go wherever the hell you want to go in terms of having that U.S. passport. And when you put restrictions and conditions on the movement of U.S. citizenship, then you still attacking the United States Constitution. This is an unspoken thing as a part of the right to freedom, freely be able to move not only throughout the country but inside the country and outside of the country like you want to. When you do that, then you are still attacking the ability of people's right to freely move around. I don't understand. I don't understand. The Americans should be barking mad right now. I don't understand it. I really don't.
no, and this is an interesting point. I mean, look at this. Going back to the South Africa point of conversation. Look, South Africa, the entire support in regards of the recuperation of land that was stolen and particularly controlled by the terrorism of the Afrikaneers during the apartheid. Let's say it as it is. Afrikaneers were terrorists, and the Afrikaneers utilized the power and the apartheid state that was set up, modeled by and taking into account what had happened in the United States during the Jim Crow laws, the 100 years of apartheid state that United States encountered, um, clearly shows us that post this era of the terroristic control that the Afrikaneers had in South Africa, and the return of power to South Africans per se, and the melanated South African, the Aboriginal South African, tells us in the sense that the Afrikaneers don't want to own up to their own history, and they don't want to face the consequences of their own history. So they go cry foul, and they've been crying foul for a while. And now that they got this orange idiot on it, uh, they're able to get an executive order of that nature, which is a complete and utter insult to sovereignty. So they're willing to sell the sovereignty of South Africa because they feel discriminated against. Come on.
No, ditto. No criminal admits to his crimes. No criminal would like to say, "Well, yes, we did it." This is the reason why in Florida they trying to get rid of Black history. Why? Because criminals try to hide the evidence. We don't want to expose people to the evidence. So of course, I don't expect them to do that. But I'd expect the people in power, the people who are in governance, to say no. We are going to put the truth out there, whether it is something that's advantageous to us or not. Because we live in an information age, people are going to find out anyways. But it's the criminal's job to hide the evidence. So I expect them not to want to say, "Well, yes, we committed crimes." I expect them to do that. That's their job. But I don't know if
Look,
Kofi.
and I saw the beef Musk started against Julius Malema. Even though I may disagree with certain points with Malema, the funny thing is now uh, Musk is aiming his guns against Malema and seeing him as a threat, which calls my attention because Malema had been silent for the last 5 6 years. You know,
I expect ideologically I expect them to be enemies because Malema is a Marxist,
yeah,
proclaims
I
self.
know, I
Yeah,
disagree with that with Malema,
yeah,
but
yeah, and Musk is I think he's a hyper capitalist. So of course they're gonna be enemies. I don't expect them not to be enemies.
yeah, But Malema had been quiet for what? For the almost a decade? He's been,
But,
you
well,
know,
he went to the polls, and I think that he got less than 10%, and
yeah,
plus, yeah, and plus one of his main partners, who he was running right on them. I forget his name now. He went to Zuma. He went to Zuma's party, and they were the ones who put Zuma in jail. So the fact that he is one of his good friends, kind of like went across the aisle, I think that broke his heart. So I think that that's why he's been very quiet. I personally believe that, but it's a lot of
yeah.
things. It's a
There
lot of
was
moving parts, man.
several conditions, and even hell, I'm in Costa Rica. Technically, I shouldn't know your history, but I do know it because you know me. I spend my time uh, investigating and reading and being familiar with the situations. Um, what I would tell you is, I think Musk is an idiot because why the hell will you wake up Julius Malema, who was being quiet and who was living his life, and just why would you wake him up? You know?
I, I wouldn't say he's an idiot. Idiot is a stretch. He's the richest man in the world. He must have done something right. Yeah, he must have done something right. I
Look,
think that would. I think that
even
Woody. Go ahead, brother. Go
even
ahead.
the most um, charismatic idiots occasionally get a break. But Musk being the color he is, not only did he get the break, but he got the break because of who he was.
What
So
what what Elon Musk has proven is that if you was to pay the president $250 million, this is the cost of the U.S. presidency. So
mhm.
that's what that's basically telling the rest of the world. If you have $250 million to give to the president of the United States, you basically own him, and that's an unfortunate thing. But that's what's telling all the other billionaires. If you have that much money to put into something, you are basically going to be able to dictate policy in the United States of America. That's what that told me when he did that act. But I don't know what you think about that.
It's more than evident. I have to agree with you in that sense that it clearly shows us the price tag to buy a position very close to the president of the United States, which technically is nothing to be amazed of because we have seen that uh, at least since the end of the Truman era, more strongly so because um, what's interesting is on the you had Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR,
Yes, yes, I heard that. Yeah, yeah.
being a president at the same time you had the Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, etc., who prior to FDR did show us the price tag at that time of what it was to be near the presidency in that sense. Let's not forget that prior FDR, at least the 4 or 5 presidents prior, also had that type of relation very similar to what happened on Trump, but obviously back on that time frame. I'm talking post Civil War, up to the turn of last century. So McKinley, all those presidents prior to the turn of the century and the arrival of FDR shows us that again. So it's not like this is the first time you see a robber baron like Elon Musk buying out the presidency.
For me, it's a surprise in my generation. Did so. I wouldn't have thought, in my naivety, I wouldn't have thought that the president of the United States had a price tag like a third world country. But I recognize that it does. I'm saying that Elon Musk is an unelected person, but for him to have the ability to have so much control and power and the influence to do certain things. There was some. Me and Brother Bakari. I don't know if you know who Brother Bakari is. Me and Brother Bakari used to have constant fights over Donald Trump because I didn't personally believe that Donald Trump would have been able to basically flush the U.S. Constitution and laws in the garbage can. I didn't believe that until now. I'm seeing this shit in real time, and I gotta apologize to my man. I gotta apologize to him because not in a million years that I would have thought that this guy would almost like act like a dictator. I didn't believe it, bro. But he is making me a believer on a daily basis, man.
Look,
So I gotta apologize to the brother.
if you wanna,
Let me jump in. Let me jump in.
sure.
Um, Great conversation. I just want to center it back to the idea of BLAGA on the white tether issue. When we talk about BLAGA, I don't know if we really define what it. We said it was black plus MAGA, sure, but who are these black folks that are MAGA? Would that be the ADOS, the FBA types? Who exactly are we talking about? And this is for Buana. Who exactly are we talking about when we say BLAGA?
This is primarily the right wing of the right wing of the black folks, the black voting populace in America. Right wing, the people who are like Clarence Thomas, like Jesse Lee Peterson, like people who are in that God. Some are of Tariq Nasheed's fan base. You know, these people are heavily blagger. People who are very right wing in their political views and ideas. I consider these people to be blagger.
Right, I thought so. You know, those folks tend to be kind of copycat talkers. They speak behind a person or two, and they kind of just repeat what they hear. To be honest, the average one of those folks. So if you look at FBA ADOS, for example, I'm not trying to beat up on them in particular, but just use them as an example. If you look at them, they repeat what Tariq Nasheed and Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks and them say. So if those people aren't talking about the white tether issue, the majority of them won't talk about the white tether issue. With that said,
yeah, I just wanted to say on the private chat, I left a link. It was a conversation with this page. Well, his name is Unbiased Ron, but he runs this page called FBA Defensive Units. I came in criticizing the whole position. And I would love for everybody to. Unfortunately, I don't want to guide to his page, but that's where the conversation was happening, and I would love for everybody to listen and then give me feedback or analysis in regards of what I was able to do on that. But yeah, that was all.
yeah, I saw you in the chat. Kofi's live setting that up. I'll check it out. So, in fact, when I get a chance, I'll post it in the main chat as well. But we got a few more panelists here. So let me start introducing some folks. First, I'll introduce them, then I'll call on them to give their response. So first is Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, how are you this week?
I'm I'm great. Absolutely magnificent, my brother.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that, and thank you for being here. Let me just introduce our other two panelists, and then I'll come back to Bakari. Amma or Cheryl, how are you doing this week?
Doing well. Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming through as well. It's really good to have a black woman on the panel. And then we have Wardrum has joined us again this week. Wardrum, how are you this week? Wardrum, you're muted if you're talking. You're going to have to unmute your mic. Okay, look like Wardrum might be having some technical issue here. So in the meantime, let me go back to Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, should have reached topic number 2. Where is BLAGA on the white tether issue? What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, well, BLAGA is nowhere. See, I coined BLAGA, and you asked Buana who is BLAGA. No, he's BLAGA. He's BLAGA. Cheryl is BLAGA. Cheryl is BLAGA. I coined that phrase, so I'm going to give you the definition. Cheryl is BLAGA, along with FBA and ADOS. Any black person that strokes Donald Trump, you can't say nothing about nobody without them making excuses for a bigot who basically told you how he want to hurt black people. So yes, Buana can't tell you who BLAGA is and exclude himself. He's BLAGA. But I'm glad you admitted, Buana, that I told you the truth about what was going to happen over here. I appreciate that. But BLAGA won't say nothing about none of these white immigrants. They're not going to say anything about the white folks from South Africa getting land, going to Mississippi farming. They're going to be in all the South farming. They are building up they want to build up their militia. They're going to bring more.
Did Bakari cut out?
Yeah, Bakari cut off.
Bakari, you might. It seems like you have connectivity issues, so you might have to go and come back. It looks like your internet is not connecting well. So let's go to Amma or Cheryl. Cheryl, what say you?
Okay. I'm sorry,
Cheryl,
y'all. I'm so sorry. But I just wanted to point out how Donald Trump is calling white, I'm not going to call them Afrikaners because that makes it seem like they're white South Africans. They're just white invaders. Um, it's interesting how he's calling those white people back to, or I don't want to say back, but he's calling them to
I
America.
wasn't listening at the time. And
Okay.
you know what?
Somebody's mic is
yeah,
is
wanna mute your mic for me, please? Go ahead, Cheryl.
So I just saying it's interesting how he's calling South Africans, or I'm sorry, the white invaders back to America as it's like a form of solidarity or unity. But it's interesting how he's doing that, and at the same time, there are African leaders on the continent calling people from Black Americans. He's calling Caribbean people back to the continent. I just thought that was kind of funny because they're doing the same thing, right? And it's interesting because those white invaders have been in South Africa for almost the same amount of time that Black people have been, Black Americans have been in America. The only difference is those white invaders know exactly where they come from, and they have more economic and they have more control essentially. So when they say, well, we don't want to go nowhere, this is the only land we know, it's that, yeah. And in that way, they do sound like FBAs. So that's very interesting. But the difference is that they live in an African country, but they're centered around their own culture. They're not trying to pick and prod at any cultures there. They're not trying to be like the Zulus. They're not trying to be like any of the ethnic groups there. The difference is FBAs are trying to emulate they're trying to emulate Europeanness in every sense of in every way that you can think, from economically, religiously, everything. They're trying to actually, because they have no real power. But the South Africans, the invaders, they have power in South Africa. So I think that's kind of noteworthy of kind of bring it to the forefront because the FBA thing that shows you how ridiculous the FBA thing really is, because you're fighting for a country but you don't have any real power there. South Africans are they're there, but they're centered in their own culture. We're not centered in our own culture in America. We're just kind of just, oh, Big Daddy Trump. And as much as, people was like, oh, I hate Trump and oh, I'm scared of Trump. And at the same time, I'm not scared of Trump, but he's doing for his people what we should have been doing for our people. So I think that's very noteworthy of saying.
I appreciate that. Cheryl, do you consider yourself BLAGA?
I didn't even know what that was until you brought it up. I was going to ask.
Okay. We'll come back to that. Let me see if Bakari got his sound together. Bakari, are you there? Yeah, Bakari, I don't think his sound is coming through. Let me see if War Drum is coming through. War Drum, are you
Hey,
there?
what's up, man?
Yes, sir. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing all right, man. Yeah,
War Drum.
the dudes, man, they shouldn't even be in South Africa to begin with. I'm one of the people that thinks they should just kick them out, man. I wouldn't even let Urania exist. You know what I mean? I don't understand why they even allowing these. I mean, I know it's some people over there that's not as racist, but the ones that's trying to separate and do all of that talking, like what you see them doing when they go to the little, I don't know, when they go have those little speeches and group up and everything, they gotta go, man. That's traitorous talking, like what we was talking about earlier. You can't do that in the country. You talking to foreign nationals about come do this, come do that. Nah, man. You can't do that and sit around in my country. You gotta go. I mean, there's no real genocide happening anyway. They're lying. You know what I mean? So, I mean, they're just mad because they don't want to give up the land. But hey, I'll leave it at that, man. I don't have any remorse for them. I would kick them out. I don't care where they go. I would send them to Antarctica.
I appreciate that, Wardroom. Stick around if you can with us tonight. Shout out to Sister Roy. I saw Sister Roy hail me up in the chat. Bakari, are you back?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't know if y'all. I didn't even know my mic had gone out. So, do you understand what BLAGA is?
Do I understand what BLAGA is?
After I gave you the explanation, do you understand what it? Because Bawama can't tell you because he left himself out. I coined the phrase. I made the definition. You have two BLAGA on your, and the trigger happy say he's going to be BLAGA, and it's okay who's going to be BLAGA. I really don't care, but what I say I mean, and I love Bawama, but I can't trust no black person stroking Donald Trump. I can't trust no black person when you say something about Donald Trump. They are willing to block bullets for him. But I give Bawama his credit. He said he was wrong. So therefore, you know what? I can lean back to Bawama a little bit. But I just can't. How is it? Can y'all still hear me? Because I don't even know no more.
Copy,
Yes,
I hear you well. And
Okay.
clear.
Yeah.
How is it? So how is it black people all of a sudden chose sides? Can start to choose sides with the KKK and the neo-Nazis, and we can figure out a way, black people can figure out a way to make that be okay because they're still black. No, no, no. We are, if you know, when you're in a fight, I know who my enemy is, right? So I can disagree with the people on my side in private, but I ain't gonna ever publicly tell my people they are wrong and side with my enemy. And that's what a lot of black people did. That's what they did. That's BLAGA. I can give you the names again if y'all didn't hear me last time. The type of people that's considered BLAGA. Black MAGA. That's what black people did. That's what a lot of black people did. Even the people that chose to vote with they chose the Arabs over black people. Come on, what kind of sense is that? Ain't no Arab choosing black people over Arabs. But we will say we care more about Palestinians and look at other black people laugh. I don't know why they're still voting them. It doesn't matter. I know who my enemy is, and I know what side I'm on.
Can I jump in
Bakari,
on that?
just so I'll come right back to you.
Okay.
Bakari, to Trigger Happy's defense, I guess, and he's stating his own defense in the chat. He's basically saying if Trump becomes the, how do I put this again? The enemy of my enemy is my friend type thing. If Trump goes and he gets the Boers out of South Africa, he leaves the AES alone, then jokingly, I suspect, Trigger Happy is saying he too would become BLAGA. He too would become a Trump supporter in that sense as a Pan-Africanist. So I just want to point that out to you.
I know, and I understand, but where is he sending them? When he get them out of South Africa, where is he bringing them? No, I didn't misunderstand, but my point is, right, go back to 2017. I did a whole live on this, right? And you will see how he was just bringing white South Africans, taking stuff from black people. taking their money, giving white. Because you know where I'm from in Mississippi, right? If my kids were here, they would tell you they would never see a white person when we go home to visit. Like, Dad, ain't no white people here. Then all of a sudden, the last few years, like, where's all these white people coming from? Then we come to find out they giving them land. Like, so now, so now it has gone from like 80% to like 65, 70% black. And those are the places where they're taking them. Right? So, and maybe, if I misunderstood your last statement, Trigger Happy, I apologize. I do apologize if I misunderstood your last statement. I apologize. Maybe I didn't understand it right. I understood it when Koku said it. But so I understood it better when Koku said it. So Koku, thank you for explaining. And I apologize to Trigger Happy if I said it. But I'm just, but those are the blaggers. Because when he sent it, I'm telling you, they're coming down, and it's going to be more of them coming down south. And by the way, somebody asked a question. No, Pan-Africanism and Blaggerism cannot coexist or provide triggers for evolution. No.
Hey,
Thank you for that, bro. All right,
bro,
it's a,
let me say something
Brother
real quick,
Bakari.
man.
Brother Bakari.
all right, Wardrum.
All right,
Wardrum,
go
go
ahead.
ahead and did so. Hold on. Let's try and get some order with it now. Wardrum, you go.
Yeah,
Then this was supposed to go now. But go ahead. Go ahead,
yeah,
Wardrum.
this ain't really got too much to do with the bowls or nothing, man. But did any of y'all get a chance to see where the black guy got refused medical service in like a walk-in clinic? And he just told him he wasn't going to help him because he was black. Did any of y'all see that?
I didn't see that. Where
No,
was
I,
that at?
I didn't see
It's believable.
that. Wardrum fell off. So did so go ahead and then one until Wardrum comes back.
Yeah, I wanted to jump on what Brother Bakari was saying, and I want to focus it in this way. The reason there is Blaga today has to do with the intentional miseducation and the intentional misguidance of the population. Look, the reason I'm able to speak on this type of things is because I did I as an individual dedicated myself to open the books, to read, to go to class, to sit down, to experience the whole academic process. Yeah? And luckily enough, in my education, I had teachers that motivated me, but not only that, I had parents that motivated me to continue that route of understanding politics, of understanding history, of understanding all those tiny little elements. But let's be real, I am an exception. I am not the norm. Because the majority of people, and especially in Afro communities, be it in Africa or be it Afro Western Hemisphere, aka Afro American, aka Afro North, Central, South, and Caribbean, do not have that access towards that education. And the few that do, they forget or they're unable or don't have the tools to differentiate between a colonized mind and a decolonized mind. And that major problem has been a debt from the get-go. From the moment our countries, both in Western Hemisphere and the African continent, have become independent in the last 200 to 250 years, uh, the problem of that building nation has been the because of multiple factors has been the incapability of transforming that education in order to have citizens and people who understand what ideologies are, how they function, why it's not good to fall into the games of the cult of personality, why a freed political mind is that one which doesn't align to to ideologies as a end, but as tools to try to achieve better outcomes for the day-to-day life of people. But at the end, that problem is fundamentally because we have allowed, especially us, melanated individuals who share living in what others call quote unquote the third world, which is a bullshit term. The majority of us have have not been able to break away from that control, and that should be our north. And that's why you have people who believe in the flat earth within the community, or who believe in whatever mumbo jumbo is popular on the day, you know, instead of having people who are capable uh, of understanding, comprehending, and interiorizing all those elements of history, of how history is not a linear thing, but it has always been a more third dimensional type of function, um, that we can't ever forget our own history. We can't ever allow that history to be transformed to the whims of somebody else. Um, so, in very simple, short, and aspect, not wanting to prolong myself in that because I'm passionate on this subject, and not only passionate, but I try to do things to change that. Um, I just consider that the work that we have is to continue pushing that particular transformation towards a clear and concise tool of education in order to break away from the remaining chains of colonized minds. I hope I made sense.
Appreciate that. Did so. Let's have from Buana. Buana, what say you to
So
what you've heard so far?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let me say this. I have to eat my blaga pie, and which is fine because Brother Bakari. I have an echo for some reason, but Brother Bakari was right on some of the things he was saying. Really, the majority. I'm waiting for Donald Trump to harm black people exclusively. I'm waiting for that. But I would have never thought that this president of the United States would, when he say that make America great again, what he meant was make white America great again. I didn't think so. I just think that he meant for his people generally. So I am caught off guard. And in this instance, Brother Bakari was right and I was wrong. So when he says that, I'm a blagger person, I have to eat my pie, even though I'm not a blagger person. I have to eat my pie because there was some things that I would have said about this president that I never thought he would have done, like dismissing the Constitution completely and operating like a gangster or a king or a king. This is something that he is being historic because when America broke away from England, they said they wanted to be a democratic society. This guy is operating like a dictator, like a king. You know what I mean? This is unheard of. So I didn't think that I would see the day. So I would say, in this instance, Brother Bakari was right and I was wrong. It is fine. That's fine. It's just that, You know what I mean? So I'll accept that. I'll accept his accusations and him pointing the fingers at me because the reality is, in this instance, he was right and I was wrong. I'll leave it. I'm not even gonna wait for him to come after black people because I'm thinking that's next. Yeah, that's next. Because it's nothing beyond what this gangster is about to do in the American society, even globally. So, like I say, man, I give it to him. He was right and I was wrong. I'll leave it, Koku. I'll leave it there.
Let me respond to Bawana. Bawana, you my little brother. I love you. You know I had to mess with you, man. So I'm back. I had to call you Black. Just like I told Cheryl. She don't know me. So she a little sister. So I had to call her. But now, Bawana and Cheryl is not like ADOS and FBA. And now they have a new group, FAA. They are not. But I'm not sure about FAA yet. But the other two, no, they are not like them. But me and Bawana, we going to have these conversations, and I'm going to still call him Black. And I'm going to probably still call Cheryl Black. Don't necessarily mean they are. But, hey, it is what it is. Now we just got to do what we going to do to get through this. Black Steel is not on here, huh? So when I said about the Arabs, I was messing with Black Steel. He ain't on here, so I take that back because he ain't even on here. But but you know what? I'm enjoying. I'm gonna mute the mic. Hopefully I can come on my.
Yeah. Can I just say something
So,
quickly? Oh, sorry.
Cheryl and then Wardrobe.
Okay. So with this BLAGA thing, I think I kind of understand what it is now. And I think those kind of people, they understand that America is white first. I kind of said this in the chat. I put this in the chat. That they choose consciously to go to the white side. So when you're asking the question, where are they on the white tether question? To them, there's no such thing as a white tether because America is whiteness personified. So there can be no tethers. There's no such thing as a white tether to them. So, like I said in the chat, they're literally like the Samuel L. Jackson's character in Django. I always forget his name, but I think that is a perfect example of what BLAGA is. So, I mean, to call anybody in this chat that might be a little extreme. I'll say that. But that guy, Samuel L. Jackson's character in Django, he understands what the plantation is. They know white people are in control. They're okay with it. Candace Owens is okay with it. That's why she has a white husband. Okay, all of these black people with white partners, they understand and they know what side they chose, and that's the side that they chose with no with no excuse. Okay, so that is essentially what BLAGA is, and I'll end it there.
All right, Warzone. I'm sorry, War Drum is back. What are your thoughts to everything you heard?
Yeah, I mean, what I was trying to mention earlier, I don't know if you guys heard it. Did you hear about the thing I was talking about the guy at the doctor's office? I don't know if I got kicked out or if it got muted or anything.
Now,
I put the link in the chat. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut nobody off, but I did put the link in the chat. Should I put it in try to put it in the private chat so you can see it? I don't know, Coco. I'm sorry. I meant to say that.
No, I have it up on the screen now. I got it from from out there. I can play it if Wardrum wants me to. My computer is freezing up and doing all kind of stuff. So if Wardrum wants me to play it, I'll play it now. It looks like Wardrum fell off again. So just to be clear, Wardrum, it's no one's kicking you off. It's something, I don't know what it is with your connection, but it's not me. But I'll play this. The caption says, denied him service because he's black, and said it out loud. I'm telling you guys, you need to protect yourselves. This is going to get bad. So I'll play the audio.
What do you tell whoever you want? It doesn't matter. I'm here to provide a service, and not everybody feels comfortable with. Maybe you're okay. And what if I just let everybody like you come into this clinic? What's gonna happen to my? And what is your name? What does it matter what my name is? I'm a doctor. I have the knowledge that you apparently don't.
Dr. Eisenhower? Is it Dr. Eisenhower?
Dr. E is what I go by professionally, but I can understand why you want to read a big word off the wall here on my degree. Mm-hmm. You know what that is, right? That's a lot of time and effort put in.
Don't insult my intelligence, first of all. Okay,
Right.
You sound ridiculous. I came in here for my allergies. All I wanted was allergy medication. I'm being denied even being seen. And the lady told me up front. She told me up front. She said, "Hey, sorry, we won't be able to take you. This sounds crazy." And I kept asking her. I got no response. So I need to come talk to you. And I'm being denied because of what I look like.
To insult yourself is to be to assume that you dropped out in 8th grade and not.
And now I'm being insulted by intelligence.
Right.
You think that's funny?
It's not funny. It's just like how you have to be explained it to you. Like we need a vibe in the waiting room. I can't just have women clutching their pearls and their purses because you're out there waiting for your brother or your sister or your grandmama. Or Big Mama, like Big Mama's got sugar medicine. She needs.
Right.
Like, okay,
y'all see this? It
doesn't matter.
Okay,
Doesn't matter.
I got you. All right. Hey man, shut up. I'm out. I'm being denied healthcare.
All right, I think we got the gist of that. But I don't know. A lot of y'all keep dropping off and coming back on. I don't know what the deal is. But this EV Mux is kind of unstable, I've come to realize. But yeah, that's the video that Wardrum wanted us to peep. Wardrum, you can try to come back on if you want. With those of you who are here, I got Bakari, Cheryl, Buana, Ditsa. What are y'all thoughts on what you just saw there?
Well, I'll go. Go ahead, Cheryl. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'll just say, I mean, yeah, the guy just can't handle the truth, and he looks pretty young. So, he grew up during, intense integration. So that's all he knows. He doesn't know anything. All he knows is white people smiling in his face and playing football and playing games and shit with him. Sorry, didn't mean to curse. So I mean, he's just not used to it being told to him straight out. So that's all that is. Hopefully,
I agree with that, Bakari.
Hopefully that will I hope a lot of black people actually look at this, because I hope that will influence them to get black doctors, just for the time being in the situation that we're in. I had a problem with this when I was pregnant. I had a doctor who didn't believe in having a black woman she was black herself, but she didn't believe a black woman should have an all black team be in a delivery room. So I mean, it's kind of along those lines. Everyone who we deal with should be black. So I mean, if you choose, at this point, if you want to deal with the white people, that's your choice. If you want to go through this, that's up to you. So.
Hey, you are right, Cheryl. But you know what? I don't even blame this young man. I guess he grown and he should see certain things and he can look. But sometimes we got to start looking at the parents. Like, a lot of us fail our children, right? Cheryl, you're a mother, right?
Yes.
Okay, and your child is gonna know, right? Like,
absolutely.
And my children know. Koku, I imagine everybody on here on the panel, they children know. So now we have to start looking at the parents, not being mad, not mad with them. Go ahead, Cheryl. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want you to.
Not being mad with the parents, right? But then we look at ourselves, because when I talk to the youth around, I don't know, this guy looked like he might be, I don't know, he probably about early 20s, right? So when I talk to the youth, 19, 20, 21, a lot of them don't know. Some know, but a lot of them don't. But here's something I learned. They want to learn and they want to know. When you start talking to them and you start saying certain things, then they start then they're like, oh, I never thought. Then they can then they understand some of the things that they see. So as a community, because they're gonna start with his parents, right? But as a community, we have to do the work. And you're right, we do have to seek out Black doctors. We have to seek out Black doctors. We really do. For everything that we do, we have to seek out our people. And I'm going to say this, then I'm going to get the mic. If you live 50 miles from your Black doctor, that is okay. Drive that 50 drive those miles to go to your doctor. I'm just saying.
All right. Thank you for that, Brother Bakari. If there's no last thoughts on this prompt that we just took, should be topic number 2. Let's go to Should Breeze topic number 3 tonight. It seems like you guys are having some connectivity issues. I don't know why that is. I'm going to reach out to Evie Mux. But in the meantime, for you guys who are often on panels and stuff like that on YouTube, not StreamYard, but if you guys come across or have come across another streaming software that works well, you don't have no problems getting on, please forward that information to me. Let me check them out.